Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mindset Alchemy podcast. Today, I am absolutely delighted to have my husband joining me. Roland, thank you so much for agreeing to join us today. It's such a gift to have you. The reason I've invited Roland to join us today is because just as I've been on a journey, so has he. My journey started through making what I do with energy, with channeling, and with consciousness conscious. Because before this, I was doing it absolutely unconsciously. Roland has had a very similar journey. Roland, please tell people what you do and what helped you start on this journy.
Sure. I've got 61 years to
start with your optometrist, darling.
Start in the beginning. I locum part-time optometry here in Friedenberg on the Western Cape in a phenomenal practice where we really care for patients and have a lot of fun and old school stuff, and we travel around a lot. We go to farms and factories and service the people that cannot get into the towns. So yeah, that's what I do mostly during the day. I also build a network marketing company for many years now, having a lot of fun after hours, connecting people together, helping people develop the courage to create lives they love living. And in between all that, Janine and I have time to discuss deep things, read together, walk our dog for long walks on the beach every night, to connect. And in between all that, I still manage to ride, run, cycle, and do kettlebells to maintain my 30-year-old physique. And
let's add he's over 60. Doesn't look it.
And that's what we do. And we're just out there having fun and enjoying ourselves. And the journey, there's been a constant journey looking for answers. And I think as you go over 50, then these questions become really deep in your life. I realized that the human body can function till 120. So at 60, I reached the halfway point, and I've got another 60 years to go of vitality, of vibrancy, of being able to be totally effective. And we've set up a phenomenal foundation in our relationship, and we've grown through some incredible storms and through our businesses, through life, and we're coming to ask and get answered incredible questions. And that's the journey that I watched Janine going on, being a lot more mature than me in many ways. For a long time, I thought she was a bit crazy, but I'm always asking questions, and I was on my journey going down different routes of beliefs and understandings, and realizing at the end of the tunnel that it was exactly not what I was looking for. And it was, as far as I'm concerned, was not based on anything that I could base my next 60 years on. So I know when you ask the question, the universe answers, and the answers started coming through powerful books. I don't know if you want to mention some of the books. But
well, before that, let's backtrack. When we first moved down here, I took Roland. He says to me, "What do you feel? What do you do?" And I took him down to the rocks by the beach. And I said to him, "Can you feel the energy of the rocks?" And he looked at me and said, "No. What am I meant to be feeling?" Do you remember that? You might not remember,
I do remember that. And I remember on this long weekend, 2 days ago, I went down to those rocks, right through a long path. You climb over a lot of rocks and you're right into the sea. And I did my qigong there, and I actually could feel the energy through the rocks, through the sea, through the wind. I could feel the chi energy. It was just amazing. And that's the journey. So I've been listening to Janine, and I listen to a lot of her podcasts because they're so powerful. I try to listen to her advice most of the time until it comes telling me that my body tells her that I shouldn't be training, and then I argue with her and my body. I've learned to listen. I've learned to hear the whisper. I've learned to this journey has just been an incredible journey because we're doing it together. And I'm really appreciative of that, because I realized that if I would have resisted this any longer and and been against it, we would have had to just separate.
Can you explain the reason for that to people as you understand it? I mean, I know the reason, but I'd like to hear the way you
my
explain
understanding
it.
is we all think what we see is reality. It's our reality. We create our own realities, and there's many realities, and there's many dimensions. And I didn't really understand this stuff, so I went on a quest to understand it. And I listened to a lot of different mentors, and things started coming together. And I realized that you function in different frequencies, at different levels, and our functionality is designed. For example, I always understand it at 100 hertz, but the average guy, me, was functioning at about 30 hertz. Even though I had enormous amount of positive mental attitude books, I'm surrounded with people who teach that stuff. I'm part of a business that is all about that. My frequency was still very weak. And if I got a little bit higher when I was around a high frequency person like Janine or my mentors, it was fine then. And then immediately I left down dialed to a different frequency, and I felt out of control. But as I started to learn and then start to feel it and understand what it is and know how to move back up that scale, it's been amazing, because like any ship is on the sea, there's going to be storms. The storm doesn't mean you come home. The storm means you weather it. So Janine and I have learned to weather little storms now that last for very, very
they're blips.
They're very blips.
They're blips.
They don't last for weeks
rather
and months.
Than tsunamis.
And it's looking internally, and it's feeling and understanding what real life is about, and it's your purpose comes to you. And I realized after all this, it's always been inside me. I just didn't know how to get it out, and it's been a phenomenal journey. And I'm just to thank Janine, and like we wake up every morning, we say happy new day, because today is the day, and it's shifted our life. We are living in our dream life. We live in our dream. And sometimes you've got to like pinch yourself. Well, your dreams grow and they get bigger and bigger.
They expand.
And you expand as your energy expands and the impact you have around you expands. You expand from within, your life expands. So it's phenomenal to have out there that picture of where you're allowing yourself to go to, and the vehicles come along your way. But the journey is that introspection, that understanding, learning to find who you actually are inside. And that is what's been the most life-changing thing of all, because it's brought us together at a much, much higher level, where I'm not living one life and Janine's living another life, because we're talking like two different languages. We're like two totally different people. And so I'm really glad we stuck out this 38 years. It's been worth it.
Just to put in context, if you visualize where you face to face with someone, when your energy shifts, the person elevates their energy, so you're unable to be face to face anymore. And for those of you listening on the podcast, visualize it as though somebody's standing below a bridge and somebody standing on the bridge. You can't really see each other. And that is the reason when people grow apart, because one person actually winds up on the bridge and the other one winds up below the bridge. So they're unable to see each other unless that person comes to the same energetic frequency. It's like, how does Esther Hicks put it? It's like the on the radio, what do you call it? You're on two different channels. That's a much better way than the bridge, because one makes it sound as though one person's better than the other person. And all it is actually one person is on a different frequency to the other person. So you're unable to hear each other, you're unable to see each other. And that often happens with money. When people are in a low vibrational energy, they're on a much lower channel and money's on a higher channel, and then they can't see it. And this is what happens very often with couples. They wind up on different channels, so they cannot hear each other, they cannot work with each other, because their dials are tuned to different channels. They dialed into a different path, they dialed into a different frequency. And you mentioned some of the books. It started, well, for me, I've read extensively Stephen Covey, Dale Carnegie, so many things, because we've both been part of a self-development program for 27 years now, 27 years. one of the things was we thought we just got to read the books. We forgot to sometimes learn to apply them simultaneously. So we would be applying different things. And one of the things that really impacted Roland was Gary Douglas and Dane Here's modality of access consciousness. Would you like to share a bit on how that has changed your life and how that led to Joe Dispenza, Michael Singer, and Eckhart Tolle?
I think
amongst others.
Amongst others, yeah. I know you've got to surround yourself with 5 major mentors. Napoleon Hill's another one. I have a relationship with these guys, a deep relationship, continuous relationship, not just reading the book once. I learned that through my mentor and watching Janine, and it's been a huge lesson and applying. But there's something that we mentioned when she took me down to the rocks and I couldn't hear anything. I didn't feel it. I know people talk to plants, but through striving and pushing forward, because when I set my mind on something, I do enough pushing until I find what the truth is for me.
And he's pushing the correct way.
So I realized that, and I've done a lot of research, and the rocks are vibrating are just a lot slower than us, but everything is molecules and everything is atoms, and even gets smaller than atoms now. But everything's vibrating and everything is energy. And it took me a long time to cope with. We talked about Gary Douglas with access consciousness, where he says, just keep saying that you be energy, I be power, I be awareness, I be control, I be creativity. So being the diligent me, I just say it. And I say it, and I say it, and I say it. And years ago, I used to listen to Eckhart Tolle, and he says, no, you need to say, I love money, and money loves me. I'm a magnet to money.
No, that was not Eckhart Tolle.
No, not Eckhart Tolle.
Was,
what's his name? Whatever. If someone heckles, I mean,
I can see the book in front of me. The mindset, T. Harv Eker.
T. Harv Eker, yeah.
T. Harv Eker.
So,
apologies to Eckhart Tolle. He would not say that.
No, he talks in a much more deeper level.
T. Harv Eker.
Anyway, these things made no sense. But listening now to Eckhart Tolle and Michael Singer and Gary Douglas and Napoleon Hill, and suddenly understand they're all talking the same language. Everything is energy. So the rocks are talking. So when Janine was talking about frequency as a couple, we're bouncing around at different frequencies and different bandwidths. And the beautiful thing is to have become together in this bandwidth, to be able to link up and join ourselves together and talk at the same frequency. And then it gets very deep. And I've learned to be fluid and to allow the expansion of knowledge and understanding and knowingness, because I had this big problem of thinking I knew everything at one point. I got to a point now I know everything. And I've realized that when you get to that point, you actually know nothing. Because there's a huge world, there's a huge universe of probabilities, possibilities, energy, space, consciousness, stuff that our small bandwidth doesn't allow us. And being an optometrist, I mean, you know, the visual spectrum is a long spectrum. As a human, we're only picking up very, very short piece of that. We don't see all the X-rays and the Blu-rays and we don't see all the infrareds and the huge stuff on the edges, which is much more than what we see. And I've come to realize that is the universe. Everything's frequency. And as you read in it, and I would encourage anybody never to stop seeking and to keep seeking and reading and finding mentors that you don't understand initially, that make no sense, and stick with them and allow that information to start seeping into you, because that's how these things have shifted for me. It's just allowing the possibility that this could be true. And I will find, I can feel if it's heavy, if it's light. I bumped into a guy called Chuni Lin, incredible. He's a Chinese guy made in China. He's a healer. He's a natural healer. Wrote a book, I'm a healer, born a healer, and so are you. And he's put Qigong together in the most beautiful way, which is ancient. It's thousands and thousands of years old. The yogas and the kung fu's and all the stuff has come out of the movement, the mindset, the breath work. It's just gentle. It's beautiful. I do Qi running, and this is like Tai Chi. I learned that through another mentor, who's still my mentor, Danny Dreyer, and how to run through your Qi. It's just all the things separate things that drove me nuts that I love to do have all come together. And I can't say all, because there's so much more still to gain. The good news is we are programmed to live to 120.
You make the decision.
Physiologically, yeah, you make the decision, the universe moves towards it. You look after yourself like you're going to be 120. So we've moved into, I mean, I've always been what people call a fanatic. I've been a fanatic. I've gone through every type of eating pattern that you can imagine. From my bodybuilding, my competitive cycling, my triathlons, never mind all that, just from a health perspective. And I think I found something that works, and it's autophagy. The body can repair itself, produce its own chemicals to restore yourself, that you can function at 120 like you're 30. And that is what is coming through. And that's without medications, but it's vital, it's vitality. And it's just exciting. It's exciting because now you know how much there is to learn. It never stops. I haven't got a point where I think I know everything. I just let it flow. And I think that's been the best thing that Janine has taught me, is the flow. I've watched her grow and change and really go through some huge shifts that was scary.
What was scary about them?
Well, I just lost track of who she was. I mean, I knew, and her, because of her allowing herself to be intuitive, to be psychic. She allowed these. I always knew she was a healer. I always knew she was a completely different. I thought she was an alien when I first met her. She was really different, 21-year-old, and I was only about 23. And man, she was different. She was just so different. And I wasn't looking for a girlfriend at the time. I was doing my finals. I didn't want to have another relationship, but my mom introduced me to her at the nurse when she was nursing my mother, and Janine was just something special, and she still is. She has some mystery around her that is just so capturing, so that's how we fell in love and fell in and out, because now we understand what love is. I think both, I don't want to speak for her, but I mean, our journey has been learning how to love yourself.
Yes,
learn who you are in this universe, who is inside you, and not your programs and all these negative programs that you've been programmed with through your years of growing, but who you really are and how powerful you are and what you are. And when that links, then you can you walk in that, because I struggled with that emotion of love. I mean, my mentor said there's 6 emotions. The first one's love, joy, peace, freedom, knowledge, power. How are you supposed to do that? I didn't think you can. How do you do love? And now I know, I understand the energy behind these things. I am the energy. And now it clicks.
Be the energy.
And I'll be the energy because I am the energy. So I'll be the energy. And it's like incredible. And now I know why my mentors are like they are. And all they would say to me is just better feeling thoughts. What?
And now you mentioned, making me think of something when you said better feeling thoughts. Can you share with people how these people that some of them are long dead and others are nowhere near us, how you connect with them as your mentors? From an energetic
I'm not going to
perspective.
step on anyone's belief systems, because it really doesn't matter what your belief system is. That does determine how you're going to conduct your life, and that's fine for you, for anyone. But there are universal principles. There's the law of gravity and there's the law of attraction, and understanding how these principles work. But there's energy principles. Energy doesn't disappear. And there's 100% scientific evidence that everything's energy. That everyone agrees on.
Absolutely. That's what's the Mindset Alchemy podcast.
Everybody that doesn't even understand energy can't argue with it, because they agree with it, because it's happening right in front of them. But to think that you're part of that universal energy, and you can move things around by how you think, and your thoughts are energy. What was the question? How
do you connect with Napoleon Hill? What do you do on a daily basis to connect with Napoleon Hill as your mentor?
So if that's how I was going down that road. If everything's energy doesn't disappear. It remains. It just changes form. When I first read Napoleon Hill's original book, which they took the chapters out of when they started publishing it, was about him sitting in a room with 12 people. They were that were not on physically on this planet any longer, connecting into their energy. Now, I knew Janine could speak to energies. She calls them guides. But she always says to me, I should have listened to my guides. Eventually, I thought she was nuts. Eventually, I said to her, what did your guide say? Yeah, well, I didn't listen. Well, why not? Now, and I'm thinking, am I mad? Like, who are these oaks? Like, anyway,
Some of them are women.
Some of them were these people, these things,
Ascended
these entities. So I've discovered something very powerful with books, and I'm sure you've come across the same idea. There's something about a book. It's got a spine on it, and it's got a name down the spine. It's got a picture, and it sits on your bookshelf, and you get a relationship with this book, and you hang on to this book. There's some books you don't want to finish because you've got a connection. There's some deeper connection with the author of the book. So when you put the book back on the shelf, and every time you walk past it, it talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had books that, like Napoleon Hill's book, Your Right to Be Rich, told me to take it out the shelf every time I walk past. And I thought, now, you don't have a verbal, you know it. You know when you hear. People say, how do you know? You know. You don't have to just,
Yeah.
Well, I know. I'm sure everybody else knows because they seem to be also
different for everyone.
Responding to this voice within a voice. We take our dog for a walk, and I watch how he interacts with other dogs. There's a pattern there. They don't have to say one thing. They have made a huge connection. They do their P-mails, they bum sniffing, and they this and their head like this, and their tail moves in certain ways, and they position themselves, and they don't even look at each other, and they've communicated beautifully. So you're communicating with a person. That guy has put his life into that book. Mm-hmm. He's put his spirit into that book. It's alive, and it's there for anyone who wants to take it out at the level they can cope with.
Yes.
Because I'm sure you have definitely experienced. You read a book, and it's great. You get a few good things. You apply a couple of things in your life, put the book down, you leave it. 6 years later, someone you meet says, have you read that book? And you think so. And you pick it up, and it's all underlined, and you can't believe it doesn't look like you've ever even touched it. And you're reading it at such a different level. You've tapped into his energy again. So nothing's dying. Nothing dies. It's we as humans feel the grief, and we feel the losses because we're working in a very physical, three-dimensional world that cripples us to a point. If we don't get out of that and live through it, that's how I'm seeing. I don't want to lecture anyway. That's my journey, and I'm excited about it. It's like very much I'm excited. I get excited about anything that works. I'm excited about barefoot running because I've run both ways. I know what it feels like to run like you were born to run. It's the most beautiful feeling in the world to have that spring that you were blessed with in the arch of your foot springing. You have to, your whole everything shifts. It's the same thing. We eat once a day now. We do intermittent fasting. I would never even dreamed of that. It was so terrifying. It's the experience that you get from things that I'm getting to the point on. So it's all these things that add to the value and the quality of being able to tap into a higher level. I never thought I'd ever do Qigong and Qi running and meditation. And Qigong is movement. It's movement through mindfulness, meditation, breathing.
And how does that help you connect with these people from a mental perspective?
Well, it's bringing me into the same frequency. They had a very high level of functionality. That's why they are there. They are. That's why they could share this. And people pop out in every generation, thousands of them. They pop up, write books, make speeches, and disappear. When I run on the beach and I go for long, long runs, I'm running in the whole universe talks to me. It's the most incredible experience. Now I'm sure, and it was a dream of me to be able to do that. I can do it just standing here in our room, and I go through my Qigong, and you get it. Now everyone's going to have their own way of doing it. I do it just on my bicycle. I do it when I'm swimming.
And it's a stationary bicycle. People is in one spot.
I can ride for 5-6 hours on a stationary bike hard because you're in another dimension. You're getting something out of it. And it's the same with the books. It's the same with our focus to be able to have a very powerful relationship together, to be impactful and impart onto our children and children's children, the people around us have a powerful, energetic impact. And that is one of the greatest lessons I've learned, is how impactful each one of us are if we work in that frequency. And like Esther says, all you need to do is just feel good.
Yep.
And in the beginning I thought, but that's like so selfish. Like, how do you just feel good anyway? We just give it a shot. Just practice and practice and practice. And when you start feeling what it is always to feel good, to feel in love, peace, harmony, knowledge, power, and
Appreciation.
knowledge and in gratitude.
Appreciation.
Yeah, well, the gratitude to appreciate things, to lift them up. I've got gratitude rocks all over my run, all over the beaches and the bays, and where I jump on those rocks while I'm running, and I just give thanks and just so grateful for the opportunity to connect with the universe. And that's how they talk to me, because I come back at a frequency and I open that book. I mean, I've on the same chapter of Napoleon Hill now for 3 months. I can't get past this thing because it's so powerful. And it's a basic chapter, go the extra mile. I used to read that quickly. Okay, whatever. Yes, that's not whatever. He didn't write it for nothing. He downloaded that book and it's just amazing. So
it really is. Roland, thank you so much for taking time out of your running, reading, and being to join us and have what I would call a couples conversation.
Yeah, powerful conversation.
A powerful conversation. Yes, it's having those powerful conversations.
And that has been an amazing thing for us, is that the powerful conversations that we have are incredible. People say, don't you have a TV? No, we are the TV.
We enjoy discussing things, and it does deepen the understanding of energy and insights and that. In a short sentence, what would you like to leave our audience with? One nugget that you've come to understand about working into understanding energy. Just one sentence.
What energy, what space, and what consciousness can you and your body be to be that energy of gratitude, non-judgment, and infinite possibilities? That's one statement that has absolutely transformed me into a higher level of functionality from access consciousness, and which you can go online and do accessconsciousness.com. And that's what, if one sentence, that would be the sentence that sums up practically everything.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. And people, let me know what questions you have, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.